As we move forward in the technical session of OCA Days 2023, we have an expert with 20 years of free software development experience ready to guide us through the complexity of Odoo database migration. Please join me to welcoming Hugues the Keyzer.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, hello and welcome to the talk, How to Migrate an Odoo Database Across Multiple Versions for Newbies. We have a lot to cover, so it will go quite fast. So please fasten your seatbelts, and I hope you'll enjoy the ride. So I am Hugues the Keyzer. I'm a long-time free software enthusiast, and I'm a software developer at keyzer, which I joined in 2021. And I'm going to talk a little bit about keyzer first. So we are a worker cooperative. We're a team of 8 people, 4 developers, 3 analysts, and 1 salesperson. There is no hierarchy. There are no bosses. We are all our own bosses. We have an equal salary. We use collective intelligence to make decisions. All the code we develop is free software, and we work mainly with clients in the social economy sector, which is the sector which puts people before profit. Some of our clients include cooperative supermarkets, other cooperatives, and other companies with alternative business models. And I'm very happy to work there. So we're going to talk about Odoo database migration. So what is it about? So another term to use would be to upgrade a database. So the goal is to make it compatible with a newer version of Odoo. I myself migrated several client databases, and it left me quite traumatized, so I'm here to share that trauma with you. So, a little bit about you. Who has never migrated an Odoo database? By a show of hands? Okay, it's not surprising. Who has already migrated an Odoo database? Oh, that's surprising. Who thought it was an easy peasy process? Okay, nobody, that was expected. And who has no idea what we are talking about? No? Okay, please pay attention. So the outline of the talk, first I will give a little bit of context on the Odoo database migration, then the big picture on how to run it, what are your requirements, what to do before you begin, how to set up the environment, how to run the migration, and then I will end with some tips. So first, why? Why do we need to do that? Okay, this is my rant slide. I guess that for most people in this room there is nothing new in here, but so let's address the elephant in the room. Odoo is a great piece of software, and I'm grateful to the Odoo company for building and funding it. But Odoo likes to move fast and break things. And how does it do that? Well, it publishes a new major version every year, and which is very fast and a very fast and unstable release cycle because, yeah, as you might know, a major version breaks compatibility with the previous one. Well, this is great for new features, but it's bad for compatibility, and it brings 2 major problems. The first problem is code compatibility, and the second problem is related to data migration. So, code compatibility. So because Odoo is modular software, there are many existing modules, and each new major version brings breaking changes. And since modules are compatible with only one major version, all the modules need to be ported to each new major version, and that's a lot of work. So data migration, well, the software to migrate the data that Odoo company provides is not free, unlike in most other free software projects. And the company keeps the migration scripts to themselves and provide an upgrade as a paying service. But fortunately there is OpenUpgrade. Ta-da! So, what is OpenUpgrade? So OpenUpgrade consists of 2 parts. The main part is a reverse engineering of the migration scripts that the Odoo company jealously keeps to themselves. And the second part is OpenUpgrade lib, which is a library with many useful functions to migrate data And so OpenUpgrade does the same thing as the Odoo upgrade service, more or less, except it's free of charge, free software, and of course it works better. It works so well that it is the recommended way to upgrade the Odoo Community Edition, as recommended, quite ironically, by the CEO of the Odoo company itself. This has been published on LinkedIn 6 months ago. So the CEO tells, oh, no, it is really free software. Please use OpenUpgrade to upgrade. Well, now let's look at the big picture of how to migrate an Odoo database. It's not that difficult. First, you need to back up your database and its file store. So you're using Odoo version N. Why do you need to back up your database? It's because you are not going to run the migration on the production database. The process is completely unsafe, and there is zero chance that it will work the first time. So you need to run it on a copy of the database. So you restore it on a migration computer. You set up the migration environment there in version N+1. You run Odoo with OpenUpgrade, and ta-da, your database is now upgraded to Odoo N+1. Then you simply continue to step 3 for each subsequent version. Easy, right? Okay, now how does it work in, more detail? My first Odoo migration, how to learn Odoo database migrations the hard way. So I had less than 4 months of Odoo experience. My knowledgeable colleague was sick, and I was on my own with some scripts and documentation. I was a total noob, but in the end, I succeeded. And so, as for many things, you just learn by trying to do it. And that's how you build experience. So here is how the migration process will probably look like for a total noob, like it did for me. So it starts as the big picture, then it gets a little bit less predictable, let's say. Okay, let's run OpenUpgrade. No, it doesn't work. How do I do it? Okay, there's an error. Okay. Please help me. Well, and yeah, you can get a kind of desperate if you. So well, I'm going to address this. So what are your hard requirements before starting? First, you need time, patience, perseverance, and confidence, because without those, you will never reach the end of the process. And then some nice to have that can help to get a little faster. So what to do before you begin? First, you need to clean up your database, because anything you can remove before settings should go, because fewer modules and less data means less work. So it's time to install useless modules. Maybe you remove useless data, and then you get a cleaner database anyway. So that's a good idea. Okay, what will be lost? Because yes, you will lose some data, and you need to be aware of that. So of course, if you made changes to module data directly in Odoo, data coming from XML files, that's always a bad idea, because just a regular module update will make that data be lost anyway. Web pages depends on the version you're coming from and going to, but most probably you will have to redo them. Custom search filter for users, any translation that have not been exported, all of these will be lost. So keep that in mind when developing and changing stuff in Odoo instances also. Oh, you might think, but there is data that is no update. Well, no update is a lie in the context of major version migrations, because, for example, in Odoo 15, the email template language changed from Jinja to QWeb, and so well, your mail templates won't work anymore. So OpenUpgrade decided to just reset them to the default values provided by Odoo 15. So even no update data is not safe. Okay, now before starting, is the target version ready for the database? So you need to check: do all modules exist in the target version? Do migration scripts exist for all the standard modules? And what about intermediate versions? Should the modules exist also? Well, The model shouldn't exist in intermediate versions as long as the migration scripts are okay. For standard modules, of course, there you need, because they exist in all versions, you need migration scripts in OpenUpgrade. Well, this is a sanity check that will save you a lot of time in the long run. If you don't do it, you will have to fix all of these issues along the way, and that will take much more time and be much more frustrating that this whole thing already is. So do it before. So how do you check whether all modules still exist in the target version? Because of course it would be too easy just to look at the modules, because of course some modules get renamed, some modules get merged, some are not ported yet, and some get obsolete. Well, you can go to the repository contents, look at the target branch. If the module is there, great. If it's not there, look at the migration issue for open pull request. This also explains whether a module has been renamed or not. And then in OpenUpgrade, there is, in each branch, for each version, there is a file called a priori.py, which contains all the renames and the merges of modules. So if a module gets renamed, it's written there too. For migration scripts, for standard modules, you should go to the OpenUpgrade documentation, and there is a module coverage page, which is a table. For each version, there is, for each module, the status, whether it's covered or not. So the second column status should say done or nothing to do. If it's empty, it means it's not yet done. So maybe there is an open pull request, so please test and review, or create the migration scripts and contribute. Okay, now the setup part. What do you need to do? First, you need to set up an Odoo environment for the migration for each version, starting with version n+1. It's like a regular environment for Odoo, so you can set it up with Git aggregator or pip. If you want to use pip, maybe you can stay for the next talk by Stefan Bidul, which he has a lot of experience about this. Then, of course, you need to add OpenUpgrade because, yeah, well, in a normal Odoo environment, maybe you don't need it, but here you will need OpenUpgrade. And so all the branches should be in version n+1, so also for Odoo and OpenUpgrade. An important thing to know is that you're not just migrating a database. You are actually building a process, because the end goal is to migrate the database flawlessly and quickly. So you should work iteratively and avoid manual fixes as much as possible. Everything should be handled by scripts, because in the end, you will take the production database and you will rerun the process so that you can have as little downtime as possible. And also, all the fixes should be written once in a script, so you don't need to do manual fixes every time. Well, sometimes a manual fix is a more efficient way. If you don't have to do it too many times, that's up to you to decide. Okay, so how do you get started? First, well, if you directly try to migrate the production database, which might be huge, you might lose a lot of time. So you should first create a database with the same modules as the production database and with demo data. And this will allow you to test the process much more quickly. But don't hang onto it though, because sometimes demo data cause migration errors. So you might, if you have a lot of time, you can maybe fix them. But well, from my personal experience, well, I tried to go as far as possible, and then I got stuck because of this, and then I switched to a production database which didn't have these errors. So if you maybe that can help you. Okay, how to run the migration? Some safety measures before, so you need to disable incoming and outgoing mail servers on the database, and identify active crons and disable them, because you don't want the migration process to mess with the real world. Sometimes just updating the database will send emails, and if your clients will receive emails, they will be a little bit concerned maybe. So ensure nothing will interact with the real world. Now, some errors. If you get errors related to XML data, if it's module data, and because manual changes are lost anyway, the simple solution is just delete the data. It will most probably be recreated automatically with the module update. If it's not coming from a module, then you need either to fix it by hand or script or delete it. That's up to you. If there are errors related to migration scripts, like a table doesn't exist or a column doesn't exist or some index problems, well, you should actually write or fix migration scripts because this is where you handle these kind of problems. So please resist the temptation to fix it only for you and contribute to OpenUpgrade and OCA modules migrations. Then, if you successfully, well, if the update process ended successfully, then it's time to move on to the next version. Or if you reach your target version, it's time for some end steps. So one of the tests is to manually test the migrated database, because just the update process, even if it ends correctly, it doesn't guarantee that Odoo will work. You need to log into the database and do the usual stuff that is done in that Odoo instance and ensure that everything works, because there might be still some problems. And you might involve the owner of the database in this process, so you put a copy on a test server and ask them to make some tests. This can take several days. And with this, you will probably encounter a new problem, so you will fix your scripts and provide a new version of the migrated database. A useful module at the end is database cleanup. It's an OCA module that allows to remove obsolete data. So some obsolete modules that are still marked as installed, obsolete views, obsolete data, whatever. So run it. I would advise you to run it before manually testing the migrated database, so you don't have you don't have bad surprises if you do that after the test and it breaks something new again. Normally, it doesn't. Well, in my experience, it didn't break anything. So, well, use it. Very useful. Okay. Now that everything works, you succeeded in migrating your database on the test server. You're ready to run it for real. So how should you do that? Well, if you're moving to another server and you need to update some DNS domain, well, a few days before, lower the time to live of that entry, because that would be really annoying if you get stuck because of DNS cache. Then you should ensure the whole migration process works with the latest production data. So take a more recent backup and test the whole process again. Prepare the production environment for the new version so that the server is ready to welcome your new database. Then it's time to stop the production database. So either it's a server running only that, so that's easy. You just stop the service. If it's a multi-tenant system, that's more difficult because you cannot just stop a database. You either drop it, or another trick is to change the database owner so Odoo won't see it anymore and will stop running it. Then you should back it up, restore it on the migration computer, run the migration, then test the new database, back up the resulting database and restore it on the new production environment. Test the new database there because, of course, you forgot some pip modules to install. And then it's time to probably drop the old database and re-enable the mail servers, the crons, and go live. Ta-da! Congratulations, you succeeded. And now you can take a big holiday because you're completely tired and you don't have any hair on your head left. Okay, some tips. So, migrating similar databases together is a really good idea. So if you have a lot of databases with similar modules, you should migrate them at the same time in the same environment using the same scripts. This can save you a lot of time. Because waiting is a very important part of the migration process. So if you can run multiple migrations at the same time, well, that wait is spread. I migrated 6 databases from 9 to 14 at the same time. It took almost the same time as migrating only one database. So yeah, resist the temptation to fix something only for you. Please contribute migration scripts. So even once your migrated database is completely live, you still have all that code, those scripts and stuff. Please contribute. Also document everything along the way. What I like to do is keep a list in a text file of all the problems as soon as I encountered them, and then I solve them one by one. And I write how it was solved. And so at the end, it will increase your migration knowledge base. So keep this file, commit it somewhere. And so for the next migration, if you have similar errors, you will have some help from there. And anyway, listing all the problems, because you anyway have to solve them, all of them, before ending. Okay, you're not alone, so you can, of course, create all of these things manually, but fortunately there is a tool now for this. And I will not talk a lot of this about this, because tomorrow there is a talk about this tool. So Odoo OpenUpgrade Wizard, or OOO for short, is a tool made by Sylvain Legal of Grapp, and with help from Rémi Taimans of Copy-Easy. And it helps you with this whole migration process. Here are some features, so that's a spoiler for tomorrow. So please attend the talk by Rémi tomorrow. As an end note, you're not alone. So if you're tired or desperate to run it yourself and you have some money to spend, please reach out. Copy-Easy can help because we offer migration services, so you don't have to. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. Are there any questions? No? I was that clear? That's great. Sorry?
Are you using the wizard?
Yes. So the question was, are we using the wizard? So Odoo OpenUpgrade Wizard. Oh yeah, the latest migrations we did for clients were done with that tool. Yes. Yes?
Maybe this is a very newbie question, but how do you differentiate custom modules from standard Odoo modules and the core database?
Okay, standard. So the question is, how do you differentiate custom modules from standard modules? That's it. So when I talk about Odoo standard modules, these are the modules coming with Odoo itself. Custom modules, well, there are OCA modules from the OCA repos, and then you can have custom modules from your own repos that are not shared with the OCA. For those, you are, of course, completely responsible yourself for writing migration scripts from them. And if you need to rename them, you also need to edit the a priori.py. So yeah, that's up to you. So if you the more you contribute to the OCA, the more work can be shared among everybody. So it's always a good idea. Does it answer your question?
So the custom module has its own data, and to migrate that data, we would use the same patterns that the standard modules from the OpenUpgrade scripts are using to sort of mimic the same process or method to upgrade the data of the custom modules.
So the question, the direction is.
Is that right, or is that?
So if a module has custom data, you will have to mimic the migration script of OpenUpgrade to migrate the data. Yes, it's the same mechanism. If your module creates its own table and doesn't interact with standard Odoo tables, then you don't even have to migrate anything. The data can stay at itself. It's only if the module, the structure of the module, of the models of the module has changed that you need to write migration scripts. But that's also true even in the context of non-major upgrades. You just, if each time you make a change, you write a migration script that just converts the database to that format. And yeah, and so of course there is a lot of inspiration that you can find in the OpenUpgrade migration scripts. Another question? Yes?
Is there any tool to get an idea of how much of the noupdate data is actually not kept after the migration?
So the question is there a tool to know the amount of data that will not be, no? Sorry?
Actually being updated.
Please, louder, please.
So for the no-update data, you would expect
And no update data.
some of it is rewritten. So do you have the tool to have an idea of how much data?
There is no tool because all no update data is overwritten. So in the OpenUpgrade migration scripts, you can see there is a file called noupdate changes.xml, and this is really the data coming from Odoo, and it will be applied as a normal data. So all no update data is overwritten. All the ones coming from Odoo, from the Odoo standard modules, of course. For the OCA modules, I'm not sure. And for your own modules, you can do as you want. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Do we still have time? I think it's time to stop. Sorry, it's 11. Yeah. Thank you.